お前のパワーとは天と地ほどの差があるのだ。間抜けなカカロットのおかげだ。これだけあれば怖いものなしだ。新生樹のみで全宇宙をひざまずかせてみせる。
The Renegade Saiyan and leader of the Crusher Corp. He's an infamous doppelganger, creating a revolution starting by turning Goku's legacy upside down through the official succession via Goku Black or by the countless fan-made creations of so-called Evo Gokus, appearances ranging from mangas and animations to video games. Existing prior was the Goku doll, who was nothing more but a training partner to Kid Goku. This warrior, however, answers the timeless question fans have pondered over the decades. What if Goku was still the Saiyan warrior known as Kakarot? However, he is more than a representation and distorts the ideal meaning of a true Saiyan. He's none other than Turles. Is this Saiyan pirate truly dangerous to become the king of the universe, or will he forever live in Goku's shadow? How strong is Turles? I'll be brief about how I analyze movie scaling, since by now people who've watched my videos get the idea. The fanbase tends to agree that Tree of Might cannot happen canonically, therefore cannot scale to the anime. Daizenshuu 6 outright says that it's a movie event only, despite claiming that it should take place after Goku arrives on Namek. The Z Fighters are also alive when they should be dead and hanging out with King Kai in the manga or anime. Finally, since Dr. Kochan granted his wish for Dr. Wheelo, a whole year had to pass for Gohan and the gang to summon Shenron again. Before all this, Shenron brought Goku back to life near the end of Saiyan Saga, meaning that movie 3 is lagging by 2 years behind the Namek Saga, confirming Koyama's statement that the movie continuity is on a time lag despite supposedly recreating similar anime events. Likewise confirmed by the different dimension statement made by Toriyama. Now it's true that Icarus does appear within the Garlic Jr. filler arc. However, Daizenshuu 7 only acknowledges Dead Zone and Cooler's Revenge as films that could occur in the anime, but not the others, proving that none of the films need to connect or that Turles must scale to previous films. I will throw his fans a bone and still give my thoughts on where he could scale to the anime when given the benefit of the doubt. That being said, let's get on to it. We see that Turles and the Crusher Corp are heading toward Earth in hopes to plant the Tree of Might. The Crusher Corp successfully plant the tree seed, leading to the most overlooked feat. King Kai informs Goku that the Tree of Might uses up all the planet's nutrients to grow fruits, turning the world into a wasteland. Goku, not allowing this, teams up with the Z Fighters and tries their best to destroy the tree, but to no avail. Krillin suggests a second attempt, but Yamcha claims that they cannot remove the tree, not without potentially destroying Earth. The crazy thing is that Crusher Corp member Amon states nobody can destroy the tree. That includes Turles as well. Destroying a tree is a viable feat, something I broke down in my Dr. Wheelo video, allowing us to scale the power of the heroes and Turles. The first calc is determining the energy to grow the Tree of Might. Admittedly, the tree's height is contentious due to the perspective for most shots, either reaching over 18,000 meters for peak cloud altitude to the thermosphere at max. By pixel scaling to determine the Earth's curvature compared to the tree, it stands at over 300,000 meters tall and over 600,000 meters in length. As a size comparison, it's somewhat relative to the size of Mimas, the smallest moon of planet Saturn, while the treetop would be wider than all of Iceland, taking slightly over 2 minutes for the tree to reach its max height. As such, the total energy to grow an object with such speed, volume, and density requires 10 to the 23 joules of energy, or large country level. Destroying a tree requires just as much energy to create one as well. Tree durability depends on certain factors such as moisture content and type of wood, likewise depending on if it's being fragmented or pulverized into pieces. When you apply this to the Tree of Might and assume it's as durable as most trees found on Earth, the lowball calc reaches no lower than 10 to the 20 joules or large island level to max 10 to the 22 joules or country level. Mind you, this second calc doesn't include the branches, roots, and leaves in consideration. Worse is that if we assume the tree was smaller and only reached cloud altitudes, the energy output would drop considerably. Both calcs going no lower than small town level lowball to highball mountain level when re-evaluating it based on its reduced size. This means that the Z Fighters, even when working together, could not muster planetary ranges of power, as dumb as it is to say. The Crusher Corp then takes on each Z Fighter and overwhelmingly outmatches them. According to the movie pamphlet, each Crusher Corp member have power levels of 7,000 and beyond. Now, the pamphlet bases its numbers on the Cardos trading cards. They're merchandise that's not intended to be accurate nor correlate to the manga or anime power levels. Though to give some credence to these numbers, Gohan has a power level of 10,000 according to Turles, which was enough to damage one of his members. After witnessing Gohan's power, Turles forces Gohan to join his side but is stopped by Piccolo, having a power level of 18,000. Turles surprise attack him thanks to Gohan. Turles then makes Gohan transform into a Grade 8 by force. Gohan goes on a rampage and attacks Goku while he tries to regain his son's senses. Although he was unsuccessful, Icarus, Gohan's dragon friend, snaps him out of his frenzy. Distasteful by his actions, Turles tries to kill off Icarus, enraging Gohan. Great Ape Gohan tries to attack Turles, but he nearly gets damaged by his blast, but Goku saves his son on time. As a reminder, the Great Ape form gives the user a 10 times boost, giving Gohan a power level of 100,000, and Turles believed he could have killed Gohan, likely due to the lack of ki control and being off guard. Goku must now face off against Turles and his Crusher Corp, who surprisingly survive facing Goku and his friends. While Goku faces the crew, Turles battles Piccolo for real this time. Impressively reacted and blocked Piccolo's special beam cannon point blank, only saying that it hurt a little, then casually blasting him away. Officially, Turles has a power level of 19,000, meaning Turles was only 5% stronger than Piccolo, and yet that was enough to defeat someone relative to his level. Goku then stops holding back and goes Kaioken, one-shotting the entire Crusher Corp. Turles battles Goku and notes that his power level reached beyond 30,000. Turles can keep up with him to an extent, but was outmatched and had to run away. After grabbing a fruit and taking a single bite, Turles gains a massive boost and bullies Goku. He goes Kaioken times 10 just to keep up, and yet even with a power level of 300,000, likely higher, Turles got so strong he speed blitz and bodies Goku with little effort again. Just a side note, but sadly this is the best speed feed we have, as Turles can supposedly shoot ki blasts from cloud altitude to ground level in seconds. Downplayed, his speed can go anywhere from 2,000 to 18,000 meters per second, clocking past Mach 5 to over Mach 50 in combat speed. Though to clarify, there are barely any speed feats that can be calced other than saying they are fast. Goku tries to rely on the Spirit Bomb while his friends give him time to charge by battling Turles. However, due to the Tree of Might consuming most of Earth's energy, Turles countered the Spirit Bomb with his blast. As Turles believes he has won, Goku realizes that he can still gather energy from the tree itself to create another Spirit Bomb. Despite Turles eating another fruit, Goku's attack was so strong not even Turles with his second power-up nor the Tree of Might itself could withstand it. This leads to my final calc to determine how strong the Tree of Might must be even when hyped up. You see, the tree absorbs the vast oceans of Earth. The entire mass of Earth's oceans reaches 10 to the 21 kilograms or over 1 quintillion tons, moving around all of Earth's circumference towards a single point. The Tree of Might absorbs such mass in nearly 35 minutes based on cinematic timing, although the Spirit Bomb did speed up the process a bit, concluding that the tree had to generate 10 to the 28 joules or multi-continental level of power, coincidentally confirming Yamcha's assumption that the Tree of Might likely required planet level of power to destroy it, and the Spirit Bomb does just that. If Turles perhaps relied on his Grade A form, he would have reached a power level of 3 million. Not saying he could have prevented his death with the form, but it is something fans tend to overlook as a hypothetical. Regardless, Turles dies off along with the tree, returning all the stolen energy to Earth. Despite his death, there is more to say outside of his film. The guidebook gives more insight into his power and history. All sources such as Daizenshuu 6 and 7 are consistent with his backstory by saying Turles was a low-class Saiyan warrior, down to him looking like Goku because low-class Saiyans have little variations in appearances within their race. Then the supplementary Daizenshuu speculates his level before he dissolved from planet Vegeta. It states that by the time Goku was born, he was likely a full-fledged Saiyan warrior and has heard of Bardock's actions against Frieza. This is interesting because Turles could scale to the Phantom Saiyans. Kami stated they are half the power of a full-fledged Saiyan, with the Daizenshuu labeling them as second-rate Saiyans. Yet these Phantom Saiyans can easily kill off the Z Fighters, and the movie pamphlet gives their movie counterparts both a power level of 3000. Hypothetically speaking, Turles, who became a full-fledged warrior, would have 2 times their power levels, reaching 6000 before he ever ate a tree of might fruit. Then the Toriyama World Anime Special Guidebook repeats his low-class status, but also mentions his survival of the destruction of planet Vegeta, suggesting that the Bardock Special potentially happened in his continuity. Early in the film, the fruits could allow the Crusher Corp to become so strong not even Frieza could handle them. This is somewhat true as Turles is above Frieza's power level on the pamphlet compared to its official counterpart. It's worth noting that movie 3 was written roughly 9 to 6 months before its release and the Bardock Special, as stated by Koyama. The manga was only as far as Vegeta vs Zarbon to Goku vs the Ginyu Force. The anime was late into the Saiyan saga to later animating Vegeta vs Zarbon. It's uncertain if Koyama was already writing the Bardock Special and if he believed Turles scaled above First Form Frieza, the same emperor who destroyed planet Vegeta, a 10 times gravity planet that when calced requires anywhere from dwarf star level of energy to max large star level of power. Also, according to Koyama, he believes that fighters like Cell or Frieza can move as fast as their spaceships that can move millions of times faster than light. If you believe these sources are valid and can relate to Turles scaling to Frieza due to retcons, then there you go. Turles is far stronger and faster than what is presented. From here, we can now transition to his video game appearances. First appearing and planned to eradicate the Saiyans, Dr. Raichi, a Tuffle scientist, wanted to kill off the remaining Saiyans using the Destron gas to destroy Earth and his means to create as Ghost Warriors, one of them being Turles. In both the original and OVA remake, he faces off against Super Saiyan Teen Gohan but was outmatched. In the original OVA, Goku figured out they were ghosts, and I guess that truth was too shocking for them, they end up losing, I guess. In the remake, the Destron gas was weakening the heroes and allowed Turles to overpower Gohan, but thanks to Bulma, the gas gets cleansed and then loses afterward. Before anyone asks, no, the story is not directly connected to the movie continuity as confirmed by Koyama, since he wrote the story for a game rather than as a continuation of the films. Plus, this isn't the real Turles anyway, so he wouldn't scale to his movie counterpart. After this game, we head into the Tenkaichi series, where in the second installment, it's stated that his movie recreation happens after the defeat of Vegeta in this continuity, potentially scaling him above Saiyan Saga characters. Beyond that, his bio repeats his low-class background and his habit of hiding from stronger opponents when he's outclassed, explaining his actions during the film when fighting Goku. The game gives a bio for his grade 8 form and confirms that he gains a 10 times boost. It elaborates that the reason he didn't transform in the film is due to the downside of losing his intelligence, much like with Kid Gohan. Other games such as Raging Blast 2 and Zenkai Battle repeat the same info of being a low-class warrior and his reliance on his fruits. In fusions, Turles can X-fuse with Raditz of all people, transforming into Turts. Weirdly enough, Turts' bio claims that the Saiyans are well matched due to their low-class status, the fruit's power, and Raditz potential. By the way, minor spelling mistake.
I like turtles.
Jumping to Dokkan Battle, his movie recreation has 3 original levels, but they mostly poke fun at the idea of Turles looking like Goku. The third mission is about Piccolo having a nightmare about fighting Goku lookalikes. The second mission is unique in that Raditz and Nappa, while raiding a planet, Turles arrive with the same agenda. They confuse him for Kakarot and suggest a team up, but Turles declines. Instead, Turles wagers as to who can take over the planet first, but ultimately he fails and retreats. Turles then appears within the main quest story mode. Due to an unknown figure wanting to learn who is the strongest across time and space, Shenron grants a wish that distorts the multiverse, causing future Trunks to get sent into an unknown era. Future Trunks must resolve the time distortion, and during his travels, he teams up with Krillin, who is looking for Ginyu, who has switched bodies with Goku. While trying to look for them, they bump into Turles and the Saiyans, who plan on taking over Earth. Trunks stops the Saiyans, but Ginyu Goku appears and teams up with Turles. After another clash, Goku Ginyu arrives, and Turles, recognizing the captain for his reputation, chooses to flee out of fear of being outclassed, leaving behind the actual Ginyu. He does return later and surprisingly gave Future Trunks more difficulty than before. Soon the Crusher Corps would arrive and challenge Trunks, but the Z Fighters show up on time to allow him to escape, as he was currently focusing on fighting Vegeta and Cell. Eventually, after fighting the two and going through a long conflict, Trunks battles Imperfect Cell, nearly destroying him. Turles shows up and abruptly stops him. Turns out the Z Fighters were dealt with by him and followed Trunks. Due to using too much energy from facing Cell in other previous battles, Turles nearly defeats future Trunks, but Vegeta steps in, allowing Trunks to locate Cell again. We don't get to see how well Turles does against Vegeta as of the release of this video. As far as we know, Turles is strangely OP in this story if he can rival future Trunks, who previously surpassed Final Form Frieza, Super Android 13, and Imperfect Cell, all in base form, weirdly placing Turles within the supposed Android Saga level of power. Speaking of convoluted scaling, Dragon Ball Legends continues this logic by giving Turles more bizarre power-ups. The Tournament of Time begins due to a time anomaly where several fighters from different eras participate. Early in the story, the main protag Shallot and his friends bump into Turles, who kidnaps Bulma for his evil motives. Despite Shallot's attempt to save Bulma, he could not phase Turles. During this point, Shallot was strong enough to handle both Zarbon and Dodoria on his own, as confirmed by Frieza later in the story. However, Shallot could not damage the likes of Recoome or the rest of the Ginyu Force. Turles is working alongside someone pretending to be Frieza and tricking the Frieza Force to aid him. Eventually, Shallot must join Frieza's side temporarily to figure out more about Turles and the tournament itself. Frieza negotiated with Turles to meet up with his faker. Turns out it was Frost, who comes from after the Tournament of Power and wants revenge on Frieza. Turles intervenes and challenges both Shallot and Vegeta, but intentionally surrenders and gets tied up by Nappa. After the defeat of Frost, Turles escapes custody and makes a deal with the real Frieza, explaining that he aided Frost and his army using the Tree of Might fruits. As Turles is the only one who knows how to cultivate them, he and Dr. Gero establish an alliance with Frieza. However, Shallot and the Saiyans use this opportunity to cause a revolt against Frieza, where Turles challenges Shallot once again. Due to Shallot's previous battles and training, he became stronger to the point he can handle Captain Ginyu's level, albeit with the help of Nappa. Yet even at this level, Turles kept up with Shallot, calling out the Saiyan's monstrous level of stamina. Once again, Turles flees since he merely wanted some samples of Shallot's cells. Finally, he appears after the ultimate battle between Super Saiyan Shallot and Final Form Frieza. Turles bribes him with his fruit. He gives Shallot a demonstration of the fruit's benefits and curb stomps him due to his injuries from facing Frieza. Shallot rejects his partnership and pushes beyond his limits to go Super Saiyan, overpowering Turles. He explains his motive is to bring chaos and conflict through battles, as he believes that's what Saiyans crave. However, Shallot disagrees and believes Turles diverted from the path of a true Saiyan compared to Vegeta and Nappa. Turns out Turles was manipulated by someone else and gains a Dark Ki power-up, battling Shallot one last time. Turles' growth is impressive because before this, when the Frieza Force battled Frost, we find out that eating several fruits too quickly can damage the user due to their bodies unable to sustain constant power-ups. Shallot with his Zenkais and 50 times Super Saiyan multiplier was strong enough to overpower and kill off Final Form Frieza, who also ate the fruit, yet not even Frieza's level was enough to overcome the fruit's side effect. Despite Turles' power-up, Shallot comes out on top, stating it's his lack of desires that make him stay weak. Thanks to Shallot, Turles regains his free will and shows gratitude for allowing him to feel like a true Saiyan warrior by battling the pride of their race and the Super Saiyan legend itself. Shallot loses consciousness while Turles leaves and warns his friends about the one who started these events. However, just as Turles plans on finding whoever tried to control him, a familiar face kills off Turles due to his injuries and power difference. Turles does come back late into the story where Buhan, yeah, don't worry about context, recruits a bunch of villains from different eras, and Turles happened to be one of them, retaining his Dark Ki amp and preventing Shallot's friends from assisting him. Though thanks to Shallot befriending several characters as the story progresses, the Z Fighters come in and battle the villains, ultimately giving the Z Fighters some poetic justice and killing off Turles, since it was Turles who nearly killed off the cast in the movie. Just when you think Turles has reached his peak, Xenoverse 2 shows what he's truly capable of. Like with previous titles, Turles is placed in another multiversal conflict and has allied himself with Lord Slug, plus two demons named Mira and Toa, tasked to cause chaos across time. Turles agreed in exchange for his fruits, which Toa enhanced by growing them within the demon realm. Turles is later sent to the Saiyan Saga era and is tasked to stop Goku from saving his friends. The Xenoverse 2 avatar assists Goku and Turles holds them off, but flees as Future Trunks and the first Xenoverse avatar nearly arrives to battle him. Turles returns during the Namek Saga, where he interrupts Goku's fight with the Ginyu Force by giving them fruits, achieving their villainous mode. By the time Ginyu steps into the story, Turles assists them by impressively holding down post 100 times gravity training Goku, long enough for Ginyu to use his body change technique. Things resolve themselves eventually, forcing Turles to retreat. Later, he discovers the Namekian Dragon Balls, hoping to achieve immortality, but argues with Lord Slug, allowing the player avatar to show up and battle both villains. By making a truce with Slug and eating the fruit, Turles gains his villainous mode. However, Turles gets tricked by Towa as she took advantage of them via the fruits for her experiments, presenting the improved transformation now known as Super Villain mode. That to this day is such a stupid name to me. Regardless of terrible naming convention, Turles and Slug fail to defeat both the Avatar and Future Trunks, getting eradicated into nothing. He returns near the climax of the Zamasu arc thanks to the time rift Goku Black caused by his scythe, battling Blue Goku and Vegeta along with the Avatar. Of course, he loses in the end despite retaining his supervillain form. Turles ends it off by being a selectable mentor during the Infinite History Saga. Due to this, Turles gets a huge buff as he can defeat villains and heroes across the Z and Super era. His most impressive feat is defeating the Migra, the arch nemesis to the Supreme Kai of Time, Chronoa. Her scaling in this arc is very blatant about her lore. The Bora states that Chronoa simply dying is enough to collapse the Time Nest, which sustains the infinite multiverse of Dragon Ball. Fu, a demon scientist, confirms there is an infinite number of timelines that promo scans further support. The Migra, who in the previous game successfully destroyed the Time Nest and collapsed the Crack of Time, a dimension outside the concept of time itself. By default, Turles reaches Multiversal Plus level for defeating such a broken enemy. By the way, Turles as your mentor can betray you and assist the enemies because he wishes to obtain immortality like Zamasu. Goku Black mentions that eating the fruit Turles gave them heals his injuries, apparently. This might coincide with what is said in the Toriyama World Anime Special Guidebook. The official backstory of the twin aliens is that Turles extracted the fruit and revived them from the dead despite being a long extinct race, kind of validating the game lore and vice versa. Ultimately though, Turles doesn't gain immortality and defeats the gods, but gets a minor character development by acknowledging that immortality means nothing if you're not strong. It's also worth noting that in game, Bardock does not know of Turles and further clarifies that if he's not strong, he doesn't bother remembering weak fighters. Sadly, Turles has a lot to learn to earn any respect, which he does as we finally end it off with all of Dragon Ball Heroes, starting with Ultimate Mission X. The player Avatar and Zeno Goten are on a mission where they bump into Bardock's crew. They explain how they travel to the planet they are on that has the Tree of Might in hopes of getting stronger by eating the fruit. Zeno Goten and the Avatar go along with that idea to figure out who planted the tree. Turles naturally arrives and informs them how their leader Bardock showed up earlier and teams up to find him. On their way, Turles shows his barbaric side by intentionally betraying his Crusher Corps, all in hopes to gain their trust and allegiance. By the time they meet up with Bardock, Turles wishes to work together, but Tora calls out Bardock's personality change due to eating the fruit and sucking up to Turles. This leads to Bardock's crew refusing Turles' deal, forcing him and a distorted Bardock to challenge the Saiyans. Turles loses, questioning how he could lose to them. Tora simply mocks him for not being a real Saiyan, causing Zeno Goten to respect their bond and pride as fellow Saiyans. Turles then appears during post-game content, meeting up with the Avatar during the era of King Vegeta. Turles explains there is a great war to elect their next king. Turles aids the Avatar to safety when they suddenly bump into Goku from post-Yardrat training, likely due to a time distortion. Turles immediately gaslights Goku, believing him to be a bandit, and surprisingly takes out Goku. Turles then explains that he wishes to become the king of the Saiyans and recruits us to continue his goal. From there, they then meet Broly and Paragus, who also intend to overthrow the Vegeta family and suggest an alliance with Turles, but he declines as he knows Paragus wants the throne as well and therefore a rival to him. At this point, I'm assuming the Avatar is doing most of the work as both Paragus and base Broly are beaten somehow. After that fiasco, they continued to take out any potential threat, where I guess by another distortion, Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta and Goku appear out of nowhere. Vegeta specifically challenges Turles, somehow aware that he wants to become the next king. The player and Turles try to stand up to the two Saiyans, but are outmatched as Vegeta disses Turles for relying too much on others. Broly returns now in his legendary form, wanting to challenge Goku. Yet both Saiyans choose to leave, with Goku trolling Turles by saying if he's a king, he should know how to control his subjects. Broly gets mad and blames Turles for making Goku leave, forcing him and the player to combat Broly again. They subdue him briefly, but with a lot of difficulties, only to find out Broly was hardly fighting seriously. The Avatar escapes, leaving Turles on his own, ultimately sealing his fate and gets decimated by Broly off screen. Sadly, Turles' failures have not yet ended as we follow this with Dragon Ball Heroes World Mission. Very early into the game, Turles appears during the Saiyan Saga due to time distortions along with the other Saiyans. The two Heroes players, Beat and Note, work together and handle them with ease. Turles also obtains a new form known as King of Destruction during another side quest thanks to Bibbidi and Bobbidi, becoming more powerful due to sorcery manipulation at the cost of his free will. For his final scenario, Note accidentally gets sent through a distortion where Turles is bribing the Universe 6 Saiyans with fruits to become stronger. Note convinces them to not trust Turles after battling them, joining her side. Not taking this betrayal lightly, the entire Crusher Corp tries to take them out but fails miserably. Despite Turles eating his fruit and losing to them, he abruptly goes into frenzy from another external power-up and challenges the Saiyans once more. Even with this amp, he ultimately loses in the end. We find out that it was Demigra who gave him the abrupt power-up. And I'm sure you're asking what's the deal with his distorted looks. Well, we find out by going through the official storyline of Super Dragon Ball Heroes in the anime, manga, and arcade game. During the Dark Empire saga, Mechi Kabura, the Dark King and ultimate ruler of the entire demon realm, mind-controlled Dende, creating the Dark Dragon Balls to help restore his powers. Scattering across time-space, the 4-star ball attaches to Zeno Turles, with the Dark King appearing at his location to retrieve the ball. In the manga, Zeno King Vegeta challenges Zeno Turles and gets clobbered with zero difficulties. Turles responds by eating his fruit, and because of his Dark Dragon Ball, the fruit transforms him into his rampaging or berserk state. Thanks to this power-up, Salsa couldn't damage Turles and claimed that no demon god of a similar level to his could win. Mechi Kabura, being the kingpin he is, one-shots Turles with zero effort and collects his reward. Afterward, Turles technically returns as his ghost variant during the Prison Planet saga in the manga and arcade, thanks to the Destron gas battling Cooler and future Trunks, though the machine gets destroyed eventually, erasing Ghost Turles in the process. He makes his grand return for real this time during the Big Bang Mission saga, where Fu recruits past villains in his endeavors. In the anime version, he gets into a brief scuffle with Bojack due to his hatred of Saiyans. From there, Turles battles Heroes version Goku and Vegeta. Thanks to Fu, Turles gets another power-up to add to the list, known as Evil Aura. Through this form, he can throw hands with Blue Goku in the anime version cause, you know, hero scaling is whack. In the manga, Turles easily overpowers base Goku, forcing him to go directly to his god form. Even so, Turles still keeps up with him. Both Goku and Vegeta go into blue eventually, but Fu interrupts their fight and confirms that Turles would have lost to their blue forms had he not interfered. Fu later creates a new pseudo-universe with Turles appearing on planet Vegeta, battling the Vegeta and a Saiyan named Cumber. The whole Evil Aura thing originated thanks to Cumber's unique key. This is where Turles demonstrates his new form known as Evil Saiyan, which Cumber also possesses. According to his official website bio, Turles consumes several fruits, gaining this new power, and plans to become the King of Saiyans in the pseudo-universe. This form made Turles so strong he can equally match full power Super Saiyan 3 Cumber. As a reminder, base Xenogoku in all continuities for Heroes can scale to Demigra, who was already a multiversal plus threat. Then have him fuse into Vegeta with Super Saiyan 4 and rival Mechi Kabura in his prime, the same being who one-shotted Zeno Turles in his old age. A being who scales beyond Demigra and the Dark King during the arc and therefore above the Infinite 4D Time Nest or 5D Crack of Time, only to get outclassed by by Cumber. Naturally, the Saiyans body blew Vegeta hard. In the anime version, it was thanks to Turles that he gets consumed by the evil aura and goes berserk. The manga version has it occur due to Turles clashing with Cumber. The two Saiyans believe that evil is the pride of a Saiyan, but Vegeta disagrees and says the desire to fight and surpass all is their true pride. Now in his blue-controlled berserker form, thanks to regaining his senses and evil ki, Vegeta mocks Turles for his over-reliance on his fruit, considering him a disgrace to Saiyans alike, and casually destroys him. Turles laments on his defeat, feeling that he will always remain a low-class warrior, but Vegeta interjects, stating he simply needs to get stronger if he cares about his pride, realizing what he desired the most his entire life, something Broly hinted at in Xenoverse 2.
Real Saiyan warriors have finesse. You're just a loose cannon.
Saiyans don't care about finesse. There is only battle.
Both anime and manga version has Turles die to Goku Black after this, either by being a distraction or saving Goku from Black but going out with a smile. His latest appearance has him returning from the dead, participating in the Super Space Time tournament. During the first round, we briefly see Turles clash against Raditz, who can transform into Super Saiyan 3, cause heroes logic. The arcade and manga show Raditz holding his own against Turles. However, thanks to Vegeta for discovering his pride, Turles proves who of the two is the inferior low-class warrior and one-shots Raditz. In the arcade version, Turles continues on to round 2, challenging Perfect Cell, but we never see the outcome. In the manga version, Turles gets his rematch against Vegeta, and despite his growth since their last encounter, Turles' determination allows them to have a pitched fight. Despite potentially getting erased if he loses the match, he simply wishes to battle like a real Saiyan, finally earning Vegeta's respect. As of the release of this video, their battle ends abruptly thanks to Fat Boo, due to Demigra interrupting the tournament by summoning past enemies to face the participants. And that is the full history of Turles and his path to power. To summarize everything nicely, Turles can become a powerful warrior, but due to his character flaws, his potential is never truly realized. Regarding his movie scaling, it all depends on how you view his feats and lore. Weirdly scaling to the Tree of Might itself, lowballed he's country level, at least if assuming its height extends beyond cloud altitudes. If not, then his lowball placement would drop considerably and probably be inaccurate to the film. Midball, he can reach multi-continental level to highball planet level, given that it's implied not even Turles could destroy the tree even when including his 2 fruit buffs or his theoretical grade 8 form. But of course, I'll be nice to his fans and say he could be higher when including his lore and not purely on feats. If you believe he can scale to previous movie villains like Dr. Wheelo, who at his peak can destroy Earth, and Turles is stronger due to Koyama's logic, then lowball, he's planet level by default. Midball and peak highball, he reaches dwarf to large star level if he can scale to first form Frieza, based on destroying planet Vegeta and questionably being at similar levels. You guys can decide whether the Bardock special is canon to his movie or not. As for speed, it's just as complicated and unquantifiable as his power, since his best combat speed feat is his blast hitting ground level from an unknown altitude. Lowball to highballed, he goes from hypersonic plus to massively hypersonic plus speed. By lore, he can reach subrelativistic speed lowball to massively FTL plus, if he does scale to Dr. Wheelo or Frieza when allowing Koyama's statements. I'll just end this portion by saying that if you disagree with what I presented when referring to movie Turles, perhaps you can say this applies to his hypothetical level early into his career as a low-class full-fledged Saiyan before he left Planet Vegeta. For his game scaling, when excluding Heroes and Xenoverse, he's strangely inconsistently consistent. At the minimum, he's constantly compared to low-class Saiyans like Raditz or Bardock's crew. When he's allowed his fruit amps, Turles jumps to levels comparable to the Elite Saiyans or Ginyu Force. At his max, he can reach above the likes of Final Form Frieza, the androids, to potentially even Cell Games era characters due to his bizarre scaling in Legends, Dokkan Battle, and so on. Depending on how many fruits he eats, his placements could go anywhere. He's a wild card compared to the rest of the movie villains I've already talked about. Finally, Turles in Heroes and Xenoverse is broken, reaching Multiversal Plus lowballed for being able to rival level levels like Demigra. Mid-ball and high-ball depend on how far you're willing to believe in dimensional scaling for either series if they surpass time early on. With all his buffs, transformations, and Zenkais, Turles easily jumps to low complex multiversal or 5D to 12D or hyperversal level. Likewise for speed, low ball, Turles can reach massively FTL+. Mid-ball to high-ball, he goes to infinite to immeasurable speed, since again, he bodied a demon god who has speed feats that go beyond time, which is a requirement to the speed formula. Hero scaling is convoluted, so no need to agree, but realize that much like his movie scaling, both franchises heavily rely on lore to fill in the blanks for his stats. Turles is indeed an interesting character. He's not strong by concept, but it's due to his demeanor and unique outlook as a Saiyan that sticks him out of the crowd. Turles is not a Goku wannabe, nor will he ever be. While he may have evil motives to become king or immortal, Turles is a flawed Saiyan who has a lot to learn and to prove himself, likely why he became such a fan favorite. What does he have in store for us? We'll just have to wait and see. I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to leave a comment. What do you think about him as a character, and how strong do you believe he is? Love to hear you guys' thoughts. Special thanks to Corridor. He translated most of the Japan-only games and scans presented in this video. Please support him by checking out his service on Fiverr. Tell him Numbers sent you. He would greatly appreciate it. Thanks for watching the video. More content coming soon. Be on the lookout, and other than that, I'll see you guys later. Peace out.